Throughout the ages, history has been altered by word of mouth and the misrepresentation of those who might not have been present when some of the world's most significant events took place. Channelers Barry and Connie Strohm bring through the spirits of those who actually witnessed or took part in these historical events and lets them tell their stories in their own words. Welcome to Channeling History. And now, here are your hosts, Barry and Connie Strohm.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Channeling History. We're the only show where we speak to the souls that made things happen, and we're going to be doing it again tonight. I'm Barry Strohm, your host. I'll be doing the channeling.
I'm Connie Strohm, your co-host, and I would like to also welcome you to our show. Unfortunately, last week our internet went down, so we had to have CC play a rerun for you. And if you'd like to hear more reruns, just go to Barry's YouTube channel. It's in his name and has over 635 videos. We are currently consolidating all of our audio broadcasts on a new platform where you can download the audios or just listen to the shows. The address for Channeling History is channelinghistory.podbean.com.
Okay, now tonight we're going to do something a little bit different, and we're going to explore the world of cryptids. Cryptids are animals or beings that cryptozoologists believe may exist somewhere in the wild, but whose present existence is disputed or substantiated by science. I'm going to use my gift to channel the words of spirits, and we're going to try to separate truth from friction. Please feel free to submit any questions to the chat room. We'll do a short disclaimer before we begin our channeling because this is going to be very controversial tonight. So the opinions or statements voiced on our show are the channeled words of the spirits, do not necessarily reflect our opinions, those of the ParaX network of our sponsors. In addition, before we channel, we're going to say a prayer of protection, and we're going to be talking about some things that may be good or bad tonight. So Connie's now going to say the prayer, and we will begin to channel with our spirits.
God, please grant us your wisdom and protection. Grant us the knowledge that we can handle and keep us safe from all things that will harm us. Keep the messages positive and pure love. Keep us safe from our egos. We ask these things in the light of the seen, the unseen, and the honesty of God. Amen.
Okay, the first cryptid we're going to investigate tonight is Bigfoot. Now, Bigfoot is also referred to as Sasquatch. He's supposed to be a large and hairy human-like creature, alleged by some to inhabit the forests in North America, particularly in the Pacific Northwest. Descriptions of the creature estimate a height of 6 to 9 feet. Some descriptions have him standing as tall as 10 to 15 feet. We've devoted a lot of time to this creature in the past, and our last Hello Heaven podcast included an interview in which we channeled his spirits. So anyway, we do know he exists. So Laura, would it be possible for us to speak with the spirit of a Bigfoot?
Okay, I take it that Laura said yes. She always does.
Indeed.
Would you please explain your interdimensional abilities?
There are many dimensions around all human beings. Heaven is a dimension. There are intermediate dimensions. There are other dimensions, such as some spirits don't even know they have passed. But we live in a dimension that cannot be seen by the humans. And by living in this dimension, we can return to it, and humans have no idea that we really do exist. We've been in this dimension for thousands of years, and souls have been able to reincarnate as what you refer to as big feet. I'm not sure I like that name as well as maybe Sasquatch, but we do indeed have big feet, and we are very, very real. We appear to humans, and then we simply disappear into that dimension. There have been instances where humans have tried to kill us, and we have taken the bodies back into the dimension.
Why have humans never recovered or seen your bodies?
Because of the interdimensional concept in which we live. When we pass, we simply bring our bodies into the unseen dimension. There have been instances where humans have been able to shoot, or whatever your weapons were, and actually kill us. Or we've had accidents and we've killed and been involved in avalanches or other things. And those of us that are still alive just simply bring that body into the unseen dimension. It's very simple. Humans, it seems as though what they can't see, they have much trouble believing in. So obviously, we bring our dead into the dimension where they can't see.
Do you mean any harm to humans?
In general, we do not mean any harm to humans. But when humans are trying to kill us, we look at things a little bit differently. We do protect ourselves. It is possible that if a situation arose where the humans truly looked like they were going to kill us or our family members, then we would protect ourselves. But in general, we do not mean any harm to humans. Sometimes they do not appear very smart to us, and we really don't know how you prove something exists by killing it, because after you kill it, it doesn't exist. But if we are forced to protect ourselves, we will do it.
How does your intelligence compare to humans?
Well, not wanting to insult anyone, but we are more intelligent than humans. We have been able to live for many years, and we have prospered. Sometimes it doesn't seem like we're very bright, but we are. We have to not be very stupid, or you surely would have caught up with us and been able to perhaps kill us, or you cannot even prove that we're alive. So I believe that on its own qualifies as being quite intelligent.
I'm not going to argue with you. Do you think the truth of your existence will be known anytime soon?
Yes. I think that there are so many people searching for us now that someone will have a camera. You all carry your telephones with you that have cameras in them. So I think it is inevitable that there will be a time in the future that a human gets a good photograph of us. I don't anticipate that we will have our bodies found, because we're actually quite good at hiding them and keeping them from humans. But I suspect there'll be some very realistic pictures taken. I know that there are some very good individuals that have been investigating us, and I'm sure there will be a time that they get a good picture, or perhaps we will allow them to get very close to us. There are, in fact, humans that we get along very well with. They have seen us multiple times, and we've been very close to them. So, yes, there will be times in the near future that I believe that you will have proof of our existence.
Okay, we have a listener that's got a really good question. Do you all look the same, or do your looks vary like in humans? We only hear that y'all are big, tall, strong, hairy, and have a unique smell.
Our looks are very similar. We do not have all of the individual facial features that a human would have, but we do vary in looks. We certainly vary in size. Our young are born quite small. They grow very rapidly because they have to be able to get along in the wilds or in your wilds. When on our side, they really don't have much to worry about in the dimension where we spend most of our time. But we do vary. There are some that are full grown at about 6 of your feet, and there are some that get as tall as 8 or 9 feet, just the same as there are different heights in humans. The facial features, as I say, are quite similar, so you probably would not be able to notice much difference in our faces.
Okay, thank you. Next, let's move on to the Yeti. It's an ape-like creature purported to inhabit the Himalayan mountain range in Asia. In Western popular culture, the creature is commonly referred to as the abominable snowman. Does the Yeti exist?
Absolutely, the Yeti exists. It is simply another form of what you would refer to as Sasquatch, or as we discussed earlier, a Bigfoot. You see, the Yeti exists in snow-covered areas, so it has adapted. It has a whiter fur, and it blends in with the surroundings in which it lives. We have adapted through the years. We have done many things that make us adapt to where we generally hang out when we're on the human side of the dimension line, as we call it. The Yeti is a different type. It is very similar in facial feature and height and characteristics. Basically, the only difference is that it has a white fur to blend in with the snow.
Interesting. We have another question about the Bigfoot. Has your species been here on the planet since before the humans?
Yes, we've been here long before humans. We have a very, very long history. We have been here since humans were much more like us. Don't forget that in the beginning, the missing links were quite similar to what an ape would look like. And we were certainly here at the time that the apes were very prevalent, and at the time that God thought the apes would be able to change and to grow and to be able to become what the humans have become.
Another question from our chat room. Do you all speak the same language?
Basically, we do, yes. A lot of what we do is telepathic. As I said, we're quite advanced, and we share much of the characteristics of advanced species, and being telepathic is one of them. We do have what you refer to as noises or sounds or even scream-like noises that we make. But generally, that's not our main method of conversation. We often do that just to mess with humans.
Okay, everybody needs to have fun. Are there families of these creatures that have reincarnated multiple times in the same Himalayan locations?
Oh, absolutely. There are soul families just the same as there are soul families of humans. Our energies are the same. Otherwise, I would not be able to channel with Barry. We have soul energies. We reincarnate. We do much of the things that humans do. It's just that we are in a different dimension. Just the same as there are extraterrestrials that are in different dimensions. The world is very complex around humans, and they can only see in this single dimension. It will be not until you pass into the other dimensions that you'll be able to truly understand all that takes place around you.
Okay. The skunk ape.
Okay, go ahead.
Pardon.
No, go ahead.
The skunk ape is a large and hairy human-like mythical creature purported to inhabit the forests and swamps of the southeastern United States, most notably in Florida. The skunk ape is commonly described as a bipedal human or ape-like creature, approximately 5 to 7 feet tall and covered in mottled reddish-brown hair. Does the skunk ape exist?
Oh, absolutely. It is just simply another form. It's the same as a Yeti, how the Yeti, what you refer to as a Yeti, has grown whiter hair, so it adopts. What you are referring to as a skunk ape is the form of Sasquatch that survives in the South. It survives in swamp areas, and it just simply has evolved into a little different shape than what the Yeti or the Bigfoot in the north has. It has because of its environment and its wetter environment, it has developed an odor. It has a different smell, but that's simply because it generally is living in the swamps. And when it is on the human side, the wetter environment allows different types of bacteria to grow on the long hair, and it creates an odor.
Our listeners are really into this tonight. We have yet another question. Actually, we have two. If we are walking in the woods and have no bad intentions to harm your species, should we be afraid of your kind?
No, absolutely not. There is nothing to fear. We do not harm humans. Actually, I'm not sure that there's any evidence we ever have harmed humans. If we have to defend ourselves, we will. If you're carrying a weapon and you point it towards us, we'll either disappear rapidly or we may be forced to protect ourselves if we're very close to you. Yeah. We do not want to die. We have life plans just the same as humans, and we want to be able to live them. But if you're peaceful, I assure you we will also be peaceful.
Good to know. And another question from one of our listeners. Other than childbirth, how do males and females differ?
The same as human males and females differ. It is the same physiological shape, and we have the same, shall we say, tools that a human would have.
A listener would like to note that you said you communicate telepathically. Can you read our minds?
No, we communicate telepathically between ourselves. Humans are a totally different species, and they are not adapted to telepathic communication.
Okay, is there a difference between a skunk ape and a Bigfoot, really?
No, it's just in the environment where they adapted to a different environment.
Okay. So you see, just like humans come in different nationalities and skin colors, so does the Bigfoot in its different varieties, correct?
That is absolutely correct. There's just simply different varieties that have adapted. Just the same as there are different varieties of humans, and they have adapted to different parts of the world. You have humans with light skin, and you have humans with dark skin. You have Sasquatch with light skin, just the same as you have them with darker skin. It's all a matter of adaptability, and it is just simply the way things have evolved.
Okay. Let's see. Next, let's change the pace and discuss fairies. Fairies are a type of mythological being or legendary creature, a form of spirit, often with metaphysical, supernatural, or preternatural qualities. Barry's had personal interactions with fairies in what he photographed. He photographed multiples of them in the Gettysburg battlefield. So he's going to include some of the images of them on the YouTube video. Okay, can you describe who are you speaking with now?
This is Laura now speaking.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Fairies are a unique type of energy. They can be also in different forms. They can be in different sizes. But they're an entirely different species. Fairies also have the ability to be interdimensional. That is why you may see them at times, and there are times that you don't see them. They can move in and out of the dimension, much the same as the Sasquatch in which you were just channeling. They can be multiple sizes, and they indeed even have different types of shapes. But they truly do exist, and most people have not seen them simply because of their interdimensional characteristics.
What purpose do they serve?
They are a spiritual energy. While they don't seem to serve much of a much of a use for humans, because humans are not aware of them, they serve a bigger use for animals and for creatures that can see into the variable dimensions. They may help give guidance to certain animals, and they may bring telepathic information to those that are capable of understanding them. They don't have a large amount of physiological abilities that they would carry out with humans, but they do serve a much greater use for certain members of the animal forms that have the telepathic abilities.
Can humans communicate with them?
No. Humans basically cannot communicate with fairies because they do not, shall we say, communicate on the same wavelength as they do. They are in a different dimension. Sometimes they can be photographed with special equipment. And keep in mind that animals do see into that dimension. They can often see spirit forms, and fairies would be in the same dimension as what many of the spirit forms are. There are times that they are much easier to see, but generally they would only be seen as like spots of light by humans. It's very rare that a human would see the great detail of the fairy. But the fact that humans understand that they exist is indicative of the fact that they can form, and at rare times it is possible for humans to see them.
Yes, one of our listeners was told about a story in England, and she was wondering if it was for real. She said people were picking fruit from the tree, and all of a sudden they saw what really looked like a fairy. It looked like a tiny person with wings. Was that a fairy that they saw?
I'm not familiar with that specific story. It could have been a small angel. Angels can resemble what you would refer to as a fairy. Angels can take many different shapes, but it is quite possible that a fairy formed up for them. Perhaps they live in the same area and they became very familiar with each other, and the fairy did take a form that the humans were able to see. But I am not familiar with that story.
Okay. Do fairies have supernatural qualities?
The ability to be interdimensional could be referred to as a supernatural quality. They can change from a form that you could theoretically see into a form in which a dimension in which you cannot see. So I would consider that a supernatural quality.
How are fairies related to human souls, or even are they?
They are not related to human souls. They have a different soul structure. That is why I am speaking to you instead of letting a fairy speak to you, because you do not have the ability to channel with the soul energies of a fairy. They do have a soul energy, but it is just simply different from humans. Fairies cannot ever resurrect in a human form, and they maintain their own shape. They have done this since creation. Fairies are on other planets. They are basically everywhere that life exists. They help as they can with the different types of civilizations, but they are very, very different from human souls.
So then no human is ever going to reincarnate as a fairy, right?
That is correct. No human will ever reincarnate as a fairy, and no fairy will ever reincarnate as a human.
Okay. Back when we were in Pennsylvania, Barry photographed a lot of fairies near the Gettysburg battlefield and on it. Why are they more plentiful in areas where human violence took place?
They try to bring comfort to the human souls that have passed. They can operate or live in the same dimension as a human soul does after death. Many of the souls on areas such as the battlefield are very troubled. Many of them, in some instances, don't even know that they have passed. Many of them are refusing to pass on to heaven. The fairies can actually help a soul do that. They can work with angels. Angels can communicate with fairies. It is possible that a fairy can give comfort to souls that have passed. It is a very interesting situation in how God has different creatures for different uses. The souls that are on the other side need to understand that they are no longer capable of doing what humans do. And sometimes the souls choose to remain earthbound. The fairies can actually help influence the souls on the other side. God would like the souls to move on to heaven and to begin the process of reincarnation as soon as possible. Fairies can help interact with those souls, and there are things that they can do. Fairies do not interact with the human souls to a great extent because they don't have the ability to communicate. But when you're in that dimension, it is possible to telepathically communicate, and they can speak with the spirits of the dead and attempt to convince them that they should be moving on and they should be moving to the light of God.
We have one more question about the fairies. Is there a way to attract them to your garden?
Not really. If you believe in them, then you will have a good chance that they would be attracted to you. It is possible that you could pray to the angels to help bring them to your garden, and it is quite possible that they're there and you don't realize it. The fact that they are interdimensional and they are in the unseen dimension most of the time means that it is very difficult for a human to see an actual fairy. It is much easier for you to photograph them because you can sometimes your camera can photograph into that dimension. That is how Barry was able to photograph them. He did it with multiple different cameras, and he has many photos of fairies. So yes, they truly exist. They exist in different sizes and different shapes, but they are not something that most humans will ever be able to see physically.
Okay, next let's talk about Dogman. In folklore, the Michigan Dogman was a creature allegedly witnessed in 1887 in Wexford County, Michigan, here in the U.S. It was described as a 7-foot-tall, blue-eyed or amber-eyed bipedal, canine-like animal with the torso of a man and a fearsome howl that sounded like a human scream. Laura, does a Dogman exist?
There are many, many different types of shapes of extraterrestrials. What you are referring to as Dogman was an extraterrestrial that was seen many, many years ago. That extraterrestrial was also interdimensional as well. And at that time, the extraterrestrials were under orders not to be seen by humans. This one got caught on the wrong side of the dimension, and the sight was very, very scary for humans. As humans will progress towards understanding more about the extraterrestrials, there are going to be many shapes that are quite frightening to humans. This type of shape is actually quite common among the extraterrestrials. Many extraterrestrials can actually assume different shapes, but the humans in this instance did actually see that form. Does it exist today? Yes, it does exist today. Is it on the planet Earth? yes, it does exist, but it exists in a dimension that is not seen by humans. It is possible that that shape can return, and it is possible that humans will see them in the future or even in the present. There are many shapes that humans will see in the future because as they become more acquainted with the extraterrestrials from other planets, they will see things that to them are very frightening. But if you were living on that planet, it would be a normal view. Think of it like this. There are many extraterrestrials that think of the human form as being frightening because it is different from what they're used to seeing. But yes, what you are referring to as a Dogman was seen at that time, and it is quite possible that they'll be seen in the future.
I take it they are not evil creatures. Or they wouldn't be on this planet, right?
No, they're not evil creatures. They may act and they may look like evil creatures, but they are just simply different forms. When you see evil, you generally can tell evil. They will generally do things. They will try to attach their energies to you. They will try to influence others. This was simply a shape that was seen. It was seen several times, and then it returned to its unseen dimension. Evil forms can change dimensions as well, but they have a very dark form. And when you see actually the physical form of an evil energy, there are usually repercussions. Evil energies, as I said, will try to attach. They will try to stay with, and they will try to influence the actions of the human that has seen them. This figure did not do anything to try to influence the humans. It was just simply something that they saw.
What purpose do the Dogmen serve?
On their planets, they serve great use. There are many of them. They're very intelligent. They can pursue different types of lives. They can fly ships. Many of them can even change shape. They are a very advanced species. It is just that simply in the eyes of the human, they are quite different. And in the eyes of the human, they appear to be very evil. But they're highly intelligent, as most interdimensional beings are. In essence, they're simply not much different than the Sasquatch that you just channeled. A Dogman is just simply a different form. And to humans, they appear very scary. There will be a time that they see many other creatures that have extraterrestrial forms. There are Spider-Men, for instance, as we've discussed before. They stand 6 to 7 feet. And trust me, when humans see that extraterrestrial form, they're going to be petrified. They are simply another form. There are hundreds and hundreds of different forms that humans are not familiar with. And many of them are going to be very, very fearful for the humans. Okay, so there you go, folks. You've learned that Dogman really did exist, and it's quite possible that it will be seen again. We're going to change the subject. We're going to talk about elves. Generally, elves seem to have been thought of as beings with magical powers and supernatural beauty. They're ambivalent towards everyday people, and they're capable of either helping or hindering them. However, the details of these beliefs have varied considerably over time and space, and the concept of elves has flourished in both pre-Christian and Christian cultures. So, Connie, let's delve into what an elf is.
Okay, so Laura, do elves exist today?
Actually, they do. They're a form They are very similar in concept to what the form we were just discussing. They are interdimensional as well. And many people believe they are imaginary figures. Most people see elves in dreams. They do not believe in them. They, as I say, are interdimensional, much as fairies are. And I would say that they're, in many ways and energies, related to fairies. They're actually fairly rare. They don't exist in many places of the world. But they are basically small humanoid figures. They do not have human souls, so once again, humans cannot evolve. They are a different type of structure of people, but many people are not going to believe it, but they are actually a form that does exist.
Are they aliens?
No.
Are they part of this planet?
No, they're part of this planet. They do exist on other planets as well. They've been around for many, many years, and they have the ability to take different forms. Today they take different forms than they did in ancient times. The ancients may have seen them. They may have even described them as fairies. It's very difficult when you just get glimpses of beings and when they can move into dimensions where they cannot be seen.
Can you describe what they look like?
Generally, they're very small, maybe 1.5 feet to 2 foot tall. They will look like small humans in most instances. They can vary slightly in their shape. They may sometimes take an animal type of form with heads. They can be many different shapes, actually, and many people do not recognize them for what they are. The one thing that humans have got to understand is that there are dimensions where there are some very, very rare things. And there are dimensions where things that humans have never seen or even have problems imagining exist. There are also alien forms that look very similar to an elf. It is possible that humans in the past have seen these small aliens and have not truly understood that they were from other planets and referred to them as elves. So it's a world of possibilities.
Are they peaceful?
Yes, they're peaceful. Sometimes they're mischievous. Sometimes they will try to mislead people. But generally they're very, very peaceful. They don't mean any real harm. I guess you could consider them as having a better sense of humor than other types of forms. But they do not mean humans harm.
Where do they reside?
They reside in the unseen dimension. They reside in the same place as a Sasquatch would reside. Sasquatch is not the only creature that lives in that dimension. There are multiples. The fairies can come in and out of that dimension. What you would refer to as an elf would do that. And there are other figures that do that really have not been recognized by humans.
What is their purpose?
They, residing in the other dimension, they get along with the creatures in that dimension. They may help lead those creatures. They may come over and try to help with the humans. They may try to lead them into certain areas or try to help them. Maybe an angel would ask an elf to come over and try to give some support to a human. Maybe it is a very young person that needs guidance, and they would actually participate in playing with an elf. There are many things in God's worlds that you humans have no comprehension of.
Yes, one of our listeners would like to know, why are some elves mischievous? Are they like humans? Some are mischievous, some are not.
Yes, they have different personalities. Some try to be mischievous, some try to be helpful. But generally, they're not around long enough to have much of a telling influence on a human.
Are elves ever harmful to humans?
No, I wouldn't say that they're really harmful. They may be mischievous and they may try to mislead them, but I would not say that they're actually harmful.
Okay, let's move on to the Loch Ness Monster. He's affectionately known as Nessie. He's a mythical creature in the Scottish folklore that is said to inhabit the Loch Ness in the Scottish Highlands. It's often described as a large, long-necked, and with one or more humps protruding from the water. Does the Loch Ness Monster exist, Laura?
There are creatures in the Loch Ness that you would probably refer to as a monster. There are some very, very large eel types that live in the loch. The water is very cold there, and there are still many prehistoric types of creatures that exist throughout the world in the waters. It is a very rare creature, and it does not exist in the form that many people think that it does. For instance, it does not take a dinosaur shape. There have been photographs faked of the Loch Ness Monster, and that has misled people. But there are types of eel-like creatures that live in the loch, and if you would consider them the Loch Ness Monster, yes, they do exist.
So there's more than one of them?
Yes, there's actually a family of them. There are multiples. They are fairly large creatures. The eel-like form may be as much as 8 to 10 feet in length. And basically they stay well under the water surface, so they're not seen. But they just... A lot of harm has been done by people that have tried to fake them. And their shape is actually not what was seen in some of the photographs that were faked. If you think of them simply as a very large eel, then that is probably what people are referring to.
So then it's never really been photographed? All the photographs are faked?
It's been photographed, but you cannot tell those that are faked from the real ones. There are several photographs that have been taken that are accurate, but most of them have been faked.
Will it ever be seen in the future? Or is it going to try to stay hidden?
They try to stay hidden, but there's a lot of activity on the lake, and it's very possible that in the future they will be photographed and people will see them. Okay, so much for the Loch Ness Monster. Let's talk about vampires. A vampire is supposedly a creature that subsists by feeding on the vital essence, generally the form of blood of the living. In folklore, vampires are undead humanoid creatures that often visit loved ones and cause mischief or death in the neighborhoods in which they once inhabited while they were alive. They are a great subject for movies. And, Connie, let's find out whether they're real or not.
Okay. Is there such a thing as an undead humanoid?
No. When a human dies, its soul leaves its body. And its body, unless your name is Jesus, does not exist in soul form, other than soul form. So it is a figure that was made up in ancient times. There were actually people in ancient times that were cannibals. And there were people that, either through mental illness or some type of historic trends, would eat the organs of the humans that they killed. In ancient times, there was great brutality, and it was not that uncommon that the person that killed another would perhaps rip out the heart and try to eat it so it had the strength of the human that it had killed. But there are no vampires other than individuals that have carried out barbaric acts in the past. But there is no type of creature that rises from the dead and sucks blood.
So how did the folklore of vampires begin?
A lot of it started from the concept of witches. They wanted to have evil forms. And as I said, there were barbarians in the past that were cannibals and ate or drank the blood of humans that they have killed. And simply that became legends that lived on through the years.
Okay, let's check out trolls. In later Scandinavian folklore, trolls became beings in their own right, where they live far from human habitation and are not Christianized and are considered dangerous to human beings. Depending on the source, their appearance varies greatly. Trolls may be ugly and slow-witted or look and behave exactly like human beings, with no particularly grotesque characteristic about them. So, Laura, do or did trolls exist?
They do not exist as such, but it is very possible that some of the other forms had been considered to be trolls or have taken a shape that humans would not be able to describe. But trolls as such do not exist. Okay, that was a good one. It's a scientific fact that over 99% of all the species that have ever existed on the earth are extinct. So the question becomes, do any of those prehistoric monsters still exist?
So, Laura, do any of the prehistoric species still exist?
Yes, absolutely. Most of them live in the sea. There are monsters that you would refer to as monsters, huge species that live in the depth of the oceans and have simply never been discovered. Sometimes they come to the surface and they're mistaken for other types of species. But there are certainly prehistoric species that still exist.
Interesting. Can you describe them for us?
There are still huge shark-like creatures with gigantic teeth, large mouths. They exist. There are types of whales that have not been discovered that live very deep in the oceans. There are, in some primitive areas, still small animals that exist from prehistoric times. There are many that would surprise you if you ever got to see them.
Do any types of prehistoric flying creatures exist?
They have in the recent past. And it is possible that there would be some prehistoric type of creatures still exist. There were types that existed as late as the 1930s and were actually photographed. But at this time, it would be very questionable whether any of the true prehistoric flying types still exist.
One of our listeners would like to know if there really are mermaids.
No, sadly, there are no mermaids.
Sorry about that.
Okay. A sea serpent is a type of sea monster described in various mythologies. An apparent eyewitness account is given by Aristotle. He described it as a fallen dragon, a corpse that was about 100 foot in length and so bulky that horsemen standing by it on either side could not see one another, and its jaws were large enough to admit a man on horseback. He described each flake of its horny scales as exceeding an oblong shield in length. The creature was seen sometime between 130 and 51 BC.
So, Laura, is that folklore? Or did he actually see a sea monster?
No, he actually saw a sea monster. As I just said, there are some incredible creatures that are still alive. And in that instance, one had washed up, and he did truly witness it.
Does that still exist up to today?
It is very possible that type of monster still does exist in the deep, remote areas of the ocean.
So if somebody wanted to see some examples of prehistoric life, where would they look? Where could they go?
They would want to go into some of the areas of the ocean that are not well traveled. The areas close to Antarctica, for instance, the ocean south of Africa. There are many places that the ships still do not travel, that the oceans are very rough. It would be in some very, very deep areas of the oceans, areas that have not been explored. But there are still things out there that are definitely left over from prehistoric times. Okay,
let's move on to Mothman. In West Virginian folklore, it's a humanoid creature reportedly seen in the Point Pleasant area from November 15th, 1966 to December 15th in 1967. Roger and Linda Scarberry and Steve and Mary Millette told police they had seen a large black creature whose eyes glowed red standing on the other side of the road. So, does the Mothman exist?
The Mothman was an alien type. As I said earlier, there are hundreds of alien types, and this was simply one that had come to Earth that was interdimensional, as all alien types are, and was caught on the other side of the veil, and it definitely existed. It was there for this period of time, and it certainly did scare these people that saw it.
Okay.
All right. One type of spiritual entity that definitely is real are archangels. And guess what we're going to talk about now, my book. Archangels are absolutely real. Connie and I have channeled over 20 of them, and they appear in my 10th book. It's called Modern Messages of the Archangels. Archangels exist in many, many different forms. They have a different type of energy, and I have the ability to channel them. This morning on our show, a Sunday sermon, we channeled with the Archangel Michael, and he talked to us about what he could do for humans, when humans can be protected and when they can't, and when humans need help, and they have the ability to ask for it. Angels are a separate type of energy. They're much different than an alien type of energy because aliens are simply another type of human soul energy. But archangels, they're among the most real of the creatures of which we're going to talk about. We've gone through a bunch of different types of creatures. I hope that their explanations that Laura left for you have managed to clarify some things for you. There are many different forms of aliens, and there's going to be a time that we're going to be seeing many of them. And I've seen a real reptilian, and I'm sure that what I saw would scare a lot of people. Reptilian forms are very real. They are extraterrestrial. They can be shapeshifters. Many of the aliens that we talk about can assume the shapes of humans. Shapeshifters have been around humans for many, many years, and especially the Palladians have been living with humans. So humans are far from a unique form on this planet. We like to think that we're very, very special, but in many instances, you're going to find out that you're not so special. Many things that we think are not real are real, and many things that we think are real are not real. It's an amazing world that we all live in, and it's going to be much more interesting as disclosure continues to take place. We're told that within the next 10 years, we're going to know an awful lot about alien creatures, and we're going to see many of these forms. So you want to have an open mind. You want to think about what really can be taking place around you. When I put this show up on YouTube, I'm going to put a lot of my fairy pictures up with it so you can actually get to see them. I've photographed fairies, I've photographed angels, I've photographed ghosts. Got to admit, I haven't done any Mothman or anything like that, but I've photographed many different creatures, and I can tell you a lot about them. So if you want to learn about archangels, that's probably the easiest. Go to my website, barrystrohm.com, and they're all available. All my books are there. If you want signed copies, it's the place to go. Connie and I have started a new podcast. It's called Hello Heaven. We broadcast it on YouTube and Facebook Live Fridays at 6 p.m. Pacific time. We cover a lot of subjects. We devoted an entire show to Sasquatch on there. So we do a lot of different things. And between all of our shows, we give you an awful lot of variety. The audios of everything is available on Spotify, iTunes, Apple Podcast, Alexa, and most of the other platforms.
I'd like to thank you for joining us tonight on Channeling History. This week we tried to bring you the truth about different creatures and myths. We always try to bring you the truth about history by speaking to the souls that lived the events. It's only by understanding the events of the past that we can prepare properly for the future. So God bless you all. Have a great week.
All of our shows are available on our YouTube channel. It's in my name. We've got over 635 of them available. If you want to download the audios, the best way is to go to Podbean, BEAN.com, and search Channeling History or the name of any other shows. We hope you enjoyed our show tonight. It was certainly a little bit different. We tried to cover some things we never talked about before. So thank you for listening. Please join us Sundays at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on the Para X Radio Network.
Thanks for listening to Channeling History. Tune in again next week for another electrifying episode, as we never know who will make an appearance or who will come through the portal. Any rebroadcast or other use of this program without explicit permission is strictly prohibited. Copyright 2020. Our Story Begins by Kevin MacLeod, licensed through Incompetech.com.